Welcome back, guys. Today I'm going to show you how I made this cat box for my mom for her birthday so that the cats have somewhere warmer to stay during the winter. So if that sounds interesting, stick around and I'll show you how I do it. Alright, so here's my plan. I don't have a plan. So what we're going to do is I've got kind of an idea of the rough dimensions this is going to be. It's going to be about 2 foot by 4 foot. And we're just going to build a basic frame from some 2x2s and start from there and see where we end up. Now, I know some of this wood doesn't look very nice, but it's because most of this is going to get covered up with paneling, wood siding to be specific. So it doesn't need to look pretty, it needs to be sturdy. So I picked out the best of the boards to act as the legs. Those will get sanded down so that the finished product looks nice. Everything else can just be rough lumber with a light surface sand once it's all put together, just so the cats don't get splinters or whatever when they're inside. So let's get to it. All right, I think it looks pretty good. I think we'll put some chicken wire on here, and that should keep the cats pretty warm through the winter. Maybe not. Maybe not. So now what we're going to do, we're going to sheet this in plywood siding, but we need to insulate it somehow. And I think this is for my mom, if I didn't mention already. I think she's going to be putting hay in here, which works as a fairly good insulator for cats because they kind of bundle together anyways, and you know they got the combined body heat of everybody in there. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to sheet the outside with plywood siding. We're going to sheet the inside with just a 1/4 inch utility plywood. That will create a barrier between the outside and inside, and will hopefully keep basically all of the wind out of the box, which is the biggest issue that the cats have now, is they've got really nowhere to get away from the wind. And then secondly, because there's that air gap between the two panels, that does actually have a little bit of insulation property to it. So that's what we're going to do. So we need to start cutting some sheets down. Some of this plywood is new, and we are using a lot of scrap plywood because a lot of it's getting covered up anyways. So you'll see bits of new and bits of reused plywood throughout here, but that's to keep the cost down and use up what we have. So let's get to it.
I apologize, guys. I'm going to kind of jump back and forth here a little bit, but I was cutting panels there, and then I moved on to installing some nailer strips for the inside panels, so I didn't have to do any sort of crazy cuts to get them to fit around the frame. And then I moved on to putting in some support pieces. The piece you see me installing here is the support for the door of the cat box, I guess, the door the cats will actually go in. The one there at the bottom is the joint between two panels on the back where there will be a door so that you could get in there and clean the box. So I was going to use a framing square to put this line on here, but I realized it wasn't big enough, and then I remembered my parents got me this T-square for my birthday this year. I mean, it actually has slotted holes to trace out lines at every 1/16 of an inch increment, so I was glad to get to finally use that and find a use for it. That's going to come in handy a lot in the future now that I remember that I actually have that.
All right, now we got to repeat that process on the outside. And I in a previous clip here, I cut a couple of these panels down to size. And I'm gonna put this one on the front. It's a hair over length. I'm gonna use a router to trim that down perfectly flush.
That's a lie.
But I need to cut out this hole like I did on the inside panel, but I don't want it to have a joint at the bottom edge like I did on the inside. So what I'm going to do is we're going to trace it out again like we did, but I'm going to leave 1.5 inches at the bottom to cover the bottom board, and we're going to have to drill some holes to get our cut started to go around it, but it should look pretty good when we're done. All right, now for this side, this is going to be the back side of the cat house, and we've decided to go with a solid panel on one side and a door on the other. So I'm going to do the same thing I did on the front and use one of those siding panels up here. What we're going to do is we're going to cut it right down the middle, flip it around so that the two factory edges, which are two lips that oppose each other, can work as kind of somewhat of a seal against each other, and hopefully I can get those seams to match up right on this cross beam here. So yeah, I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I'm going to try it, so let's go.
Here we're just using some of that scrap plywood, and we're going to make a bottom for the box here. This is going to be where most of the hay will sit, where the cats will sit around. Later on in the video we'll actually make a little shelf or a loft of sorts, I guess, for the cats. But this panel is going to be used for the floor.
Okay, we're getting somewhere. We've got walls, we've got a floor, we've got front and back outside panels, all the inside panels, and surely 4 or 5 cats could fit in here and it should hold them pretty good. So now I need to put some side panels on here, but is my mic on? Yeah, it's on. But I need to start building the roof because I want the side panels to be a single piece all the way across the side of the roof as well. So I need to start framing that out. So that's what we're going to do next. I don't know how to get out of here. I'm too old for that.
Here we're just cutting out the interior shelf, and these supports I'm putting in, I'm just pocket hole screwing 2 boards on the outer frame. That way I basically have a strip that I can screw into from the inside to create a couple of runners. So that's what I'm doing here, and then we can attach the shelf directly to the top of that. Here we're starting on the framing for the roof. Off camera I did determine what size I wanted that to be so that everything could be 45-degree angles or straight cuts. So we're just cutting that over here on the chop saw here, and then we're going to take that over to the assembly table and assemble that together. Finally, we'll take that over here and attach that straight to the cat box here, the cat house, I guess. And there is a center support beam that goes in here to kind of tie everything together.
Hey guys, I'm going to pause for a second there. I don't know if you just caught that. I was trying to put a screw in right here, and the bit, it's a square bit, number 2 square, into a combination screw that I accidentally bought. I usually buy the star bits. It slipped out of the screw, and I drilled this bit directly into my finger. Now, this is a fairly blunt bit here, so you wouldn't think it would do much damage, but when you're spinning that at however many hundreds or thousands of RPMs a minute, that blunt end doesn't matter. It's going to drill in, especially to your soft skin. So I drilled a hole right into my finger. I ran off camera real quick because it wasn't dripping blood, it was gushing blood there for a second. So I ran to the bathrooms, get it washed off, and try to get the blood to stop, and then got a Band-Aid on it so I can keep on going forward. So there's your daily lesson that accidents can happen no matter how long you've been doing anything. You make mistakes. It's just part of being human. And I made mine today. One of many I'm sure I'll make today even. So I'm going to get back to trying to cut the roof angle off of these panels here real quick so I can get them installed. Okay, so we need to pivot just a little bit. I overcut the width of the sides to accommodate the trim that's going to sit below them so that the roof would cover the trim. I forgot to do that on the front and the back panel. So I need to do that. Otherwise, the trim is going to set out further than the roof panel and water will get and set there. That could be okay for a while, but especially since I'm not going to caulk that trim, the water's going to sit there, it's going to run in behind it, it's going to start rotting the wood that's behind it. So I'm going to go ahead and fix it. What I've done so far is I've taken a chamfer bit on the router and chamfered the top of the panel so that I could shift the roof panel down. I'm going to put a center support in right here to cover for any flex in the middle.
That's a lie.
And then I'm going to put a small strip here just long enough to space this down so that it can cover my trim. And then we can go ahead and install it and the trim will be all covered up when it's done. So let's figure out if we can get that done. Okay, you can't see it yet, but I did go ahead and put the trim on and paint. I did that off camera simply because my camera died and I ran out of time. So my wife came out and helped me get this painted after I got the trim work on. I've got the door assembled and put together. So now all I need to do is throw some shingles on this and attach the door. So wrapping her up. There you have it, guys, a cat box. It's not the fanciest thing you'll ever see. And could you have bought one cheaper? Yeah, probably. Would it have been nearly as sturdy? Absolutely not. So I've got some ideas for some windows maybe to put in there at some point, even if they're just decorative, just to give it a little bit of extra design. But all in all, I think it turned out pretty good. So that's going to wrap it up for today. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you like, and I'll catch you on the next one.